Howdy, folks. Steve Sweeney here with Headwaters for Heroes, another one of our sessions with our great nation's heroes. I want to let you know this session is brought to you by Headwaters Saloon here in Harper, Texas. You ever get out here, Vic and Lori Hollander are just the greatest hosts, and it's a family kind of place to be. Yeah, it's a beer joint, but my God, the families come out, and we have a good time every time we're here, and they just take good care of people. So get out this way to Harper, Texas, check out Headwaters Saloon. Wow, today I'm joined with a very good friend. I've known this guy for several years, met him on a hunt here with Headwaters for Heroes, and we've stayed friends for ever since then, I guess. I've got Ray Soto, retired Master Sergeant from the Army. How you doing, Ray?
Hey, Steve, doing well. Good to see you again.
Good to see you. I'm glad you joined us today. So,
appreciate it.
How's the world been treating you?
You know, blessed, right?
Yes.
I think that's just one word, blessed.
Yes.
Yeah.
I tell you what, I think that's all of us need to take a look at that. And I was talking earlier with Matt Deathridge on the other session, and it was like, I talk about the spiritual giving of all the people and how long our staff has stayed with us, the volunteers, and it's every one of them will all tell you the same thing. They're blessed to be doing this. Mm-hmm. God's put us here, and let's do it. Let's see this mission through. So. Well, I want to know a little bit about you. I want our audience to know a little bit about Ray.
All right.
So where were you born?
Wow, that's a long time ago. So I was born in 1978 in California. My dad is an immigrant from Mexico, so they were living in California. My brother and I were born there. After about 2 years, we packed up, and my dad, with his sisters, came to San Antonio, Texas. So it's not too far from here in beautiful Harper.
Well, that is good. I tell you what, I've heard other stories of families like your father coming to the United States, mm-hmm. looking for a better life and whatnot, and we've seen examples of where families grow like you did, mm-hmm. and do remarkable things. And I consider you a hero in our great nation. You went and fought, and there's been a long line of people that have gone and fought for this country, and obviously we don't thank them enough, but. So you grew up in San Antonio for the most part.
I did. We grew up on the west side of San Antonio. Obviously with the traumatic brain injury, kind of sporadic memories, but I do remember living in a one-bedroom house when I was a kid. So my brother and I and my mom and dad shared essentially a bedroom. It was a 3-bedroom house: living room, bedroom, kitchen, restroom.
Yep. Wow.
Yep.
Wow. Well, it's incredible, but. Your family, I've watched you over social media, and your love for your father, mm-hmm. I mean, it shows. I think that's remarkable because, there's a lot of people, maybe not as bad in San Antonio as maybe like Los Angeles or some
mm-hmm.
of these other places where families just grow apart and they get caught up in drugs and crime and all that. But just maybe I'm not seeing the full picture, but it looks like your family was a strong, loving, caring family, and I think that's incredible because I think it carries through. And as I watch you and yeah, I'm watching you on social media, I see what you do with your kids, and it's like, I see where that comes from. I believe that everything I do is because of what I was taught from my parents.
Absolutely.
And it's been incredible, and I can't help but believe that a lot of that paved the way for your success in the military. A retired Master Sergeant, that's not the easiest place to get to.
Yeah, and you bring up family, and I think that's number one, Steve, is my dad instilled with me. I remember a kid, I wouldn't see him during the week. And the reason why is because he would wake up before I'd wake up, and he'd go to work, and I'd go to school. I'd come home, get ready for bed, he'd still be working, and he'd finally come home. So I'd go days without seeing him, not because he was at a bar partying, because he was working.
Wow.
And as you reflect on work ethic, that's where it starts, is being a role model for your kids, right? And now that I'm a grandfather now, not sure, if you do, but yeah, I just
I saw that, Gray.
Yeah, I did. I became a grandfather, and so now there's an even deeper role model. So I think that's one of the biggest things that I think. I lost my dad a couple of years ago, and he obviously taught me so much, but the memories of people see what you do, not necessarily always listen to what you say, but they see what you do.
Right.
And I think that's what my dad is so much remembered for in my mind, is working hard, having a work ethic. And I was talking to my son the other day, he's 16 now and he's thinking about getting a job. And I said, son, I want you to know something. Whatever it is that you do, you be the best employee you can be. Whatever it is you're doing. If you're working at a fast food restaurant, if you're working at a veterinarian office, cleaning up dog poop, whatever it is, you be the best worker, because that will pay off. And that's what my dad taught me, and that's what helped me as we, get into this podcast. It starts with the family. It really does.
Well, your dad sounds a lot like mine. Lead by example.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
And you set that example. And in my case, it was, it was. I was brought up in a very Christian family. Did I practice? No, I was as rotten as they come. But I came full circle.
Yeah.
And I remember the things my dad taught me, but it took going through some tough times.
Absolutely.
But this is not about me. So, what high school did you go to in San Antonio?
So my dad was able to muster up a little bit of money, and we moved from that one-bedroom house. I forgot what I was, but we moved into a three-bedroom, which led me to the west side of San Antonio, closer to Kelly Air Force Base. And I went to John F. Kennedy High School.
Wow.
Yeah, home of the Rockets. So that's where I went to high school. And it's funny because my dad would always talk about when I was in Mexico, when I would walk to school. I'm that guy now, because I would walk to my high school, and it was probably about 3/4 of a mile, if not a mile, but it was cool to walk with your friends. But it's interesting how I tell my son now, oh, you have it easy. When I was in high school, obviously your parents tell you that when you're younger, and you're like, yeah, whatever, but that was your time. I went to John F. Kennedy High School. It wasn't the best high school in the 90s. I think, if you look at San Antonio in the 90s, that's when the gangs were real rampant.
Yeah.
And, I never forget my dad was trying to come home to be at home as much as he could, because he knew what was going on, right? The gangs and the violence and the drive-bys. My neighbor's house actually was shot up, and my parents were outside talking to the neighbors. So I witnessed firsthand that lifestyle.
Wow.
And my dad worked so hard to discipline us. My parents were strict. And I remember he told me, he said, son, one of these days you're going to look back and you're going to realize why I'm doing what I'm doing. Right. And you're like, yeah, whatever, Dad.
Yeah.
But it was true. Right. I think it helped me not get into that lifestyle. Did I have friends that were in it? Yeah. Did I think it was cool? Yeah, much like every other kid. But he never gave up. He never let me do what I wanted to do. And it's just interesting how parents always know what's best for you, right? So that's where I went, John F. Kennedy High School. And, interesting story. I was called the cool nerd, right? And here's why. I would get home, based on my dad's values, and I would do my homework as soon as I got home. Knock it out 30, 45 minutes an hour. So I had all evening to go hang out. When I became a senior in high school, start driving, we start going out, but I was still doing my homework, right, as soon as I got home. So then as my senior year, I'm getting in trouble and hanging out, but I had A's and B's. So I was known as the cool nerd, because I'd go hang out, go party, but I had my homework the next day. And I graduated with A's and B's, and it was pretty interesting. Just, I was in geometry honors, calculus honors, and this is the west side of San Antonio, right? And I'm in calculus. Now I reflect back and realize, wow, what I was doing at that age. But yeah, cool nerd was what I was known as. Cool nerd,
man, I like that. Unfortunately, I didn't do my homework. That I had a different hole.
Yeah,
I wanted to be out there partying and having fun, and I think all of us when we're young, we're that way.
Yeah.
But it is our parents that keep us grounded and keep us from going to prison.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So it's a good thing. So, what year did you graduate?
I graduated in 1996.
96. Did you what possessed you to enlist in the military?
So I actually enlisted in October of 1995. So here's what's interesting. I back then you're taking your SATs, right? And I'll never forget this, and I won't use any names, but I was in a class, and I was a cool nerd, so I was always, trying to be funny in class, being silly. But I was pretty smart, right? I didn't know what I had in me, and we were talking about SAT scores. And I think I broke, 900, like a 920 or something like that. No, I broke 1,000, I'm sorry. And at that time, obviously, it just, if you broke 1,000, it was wow. And the teacher heard me and said, why can't you take this serious, right? People are actually trying, and you're over here joking that you broke 1,000. So the next day I brought my SAT scores, and I showed it to him. I said, here you go. He said, you still want to mount to anything? You know, it was just interesting how some people always judge you, and no matter what you do, right? They're just they don't care about you. So I think that drove me. You know, here I have this successful teacher telling me this, right? But I knew I had the values my dad had taught me, and that stuck with me. And I started thinking about, what am I going to do, right? My dad's a welder, can't afford college, right? I don't want to be a welder. I was welding with him when I was 15. He would take me to work in the summer. So I didn't have a summer go have fun. I was welding with him. I would get into the places where he couldn't fit to weld on these massive signs. But I knew that's not what I wanted, right? I wanted more. And all these recruiters were coming to John F. Kennedy High School, and we took an exam, and they said, hey, this is an exam to test your aptitude. And we see all these people in uniform, and whatever, what is this? So we're taking a test. Well, it was the ASVAB, and I scored pretty well, and I went to talk to an Army recruiter, and came over the house that evening, that same day, came over. And my mom and dad had a sign, and my dad was at work. So my mom's there cooking dinner, and I said, Mom, I think I want to do this. And I'll never forget what she said. She said, what happens? And this is back in 95, right? There was no war. So now I was a senior in high school, and she says, what if you have to go to war one day? I don't know, Mom. I guess I'll go. Okay. So then my dad gets home from work, and he's, son, if this is what you want, yeah. So they both had a sign because I was 17. Yeah, wow. I was 17 years old. Both parents had a sign, and I was a senior in high school. Still, I had joined the reserves at the time, so I would go 1 week in a month to kind of get a feel for it and see, because I hadn't gone to basic training yet. But yeah, that's what got me enlisted in the military was what that teacher said. And you know, I think looking at it now, maybe that pushed me and it helped me.
Well, I was going to ask that, you know, because it can go either way.
Exactly.
I've heard tons of stories of where a teacher says you're not going to amount to anything, and it has an adverse effect. Yeah. But it sounds like in your case, it might have been a motivating effect that brought you to where you're at. And I tell a story. I know a young man. I say young man. This has been years ago. In high school, teacher asked him, "Well, what are you going to be?" He said, "I'm going to be a professional bull rider." And she just laughed at him and said, "You'll never amount to anything." Mm. Well, in his senior year, he made more money riding bulls than she did teaching. Yeah, had a pretty decent little career, but was that a motivating factor for him? Very probably was. Yeah. But you know, it can go either way. Yeah, it can either be it tear you down, and in too many cases, I think it does tear people down. But then again, I think it goes back to how we were raised. Exactly. And you know, I can remember, you know, people telling me you can't do something, and it's like, well, hide and watch. Yeah. So you know, but I think it goes back to how you were raised, and a lot of that is I wouldn't say it's confidence. You know that, you know, my dad said you can do anything you want, but you got to learn how to do it. Yeah. And so I think that's great that it was a motivating factor for you. Yeah, and you know, my dad was tough. He's one of those where he would say, "Go get me this tool," right? And I'd take forever. He would say, "What's taking so long?" Or he would say, "You don't know what it is?" Right? Everything was wrong to him. If you do it right the first time, right? So hearing the teacher tell me that, I'm thinking, no, I've got this role model, my dad, telling me, if you do something, do it right, work hard, and it'll pay off. And you're telling me I want to amount to nothing, so you're right. I took the path of listening to my dad as opposed to listening to this teacher. But I do think you're right. It could have gone either way, and I think having that work ethic or that confidence, if you will, from the support of your family, as I reflect now to help my son. So if he's ever told that, he doesn't go the other route, right? So I think, you know, when you reflect back on your life and how do you want to do things differently, it's obviously about your kids. What am I doing for them? Right. Yep. So I enlisted. 2 weeks after high school, everyone's partying. Ship off to basic training at Fort Jackson, South Carolina. At the time, I was in the reserve, so I went there, went to my AIT, come back home, and now what do I do, right? So I started working for a bank, and then I realized, no, I want to go to school. I want to use my GI Bill. So I started going to community college, Palo Alto down on the south side when it was one building. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I started going to school there. Wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but I knew I wanted to go to school.
And that's what I did for several years. I just went to community college, and then I started working, so I started taking less college. So to sum it up, it took me 10 years to get my bachelor's degree. um, but that's how I started. Just my overall education was I knew I wanted more, right? Again, my dad was a welder, worked hard, but I just knew that wasn't for me. I wanted to go to school, and the Army was the only way I could afford it. So that's what happened to me in October of '95, and why I decided to join the Army was I needed money for school. I just, it's expensive. My family can't afford it. They've done the best that they can.
Right.
But I need money for school. So that's what drove me to join the Army was school money.
Take advantage of the GI Bill.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know, there's a lot of people do that.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but like you said, you may get called into war.
Mm-hmm.
So where were you stationed after you got out of basic, and when did you head into Afghanistan?
So I stayed in the reserves, and then 2001 comes along, and I'm talking to an NCO, right? I had already been in for 5 years. The reserves here in San Antonio. I was part of a civil affairs unit. And for those who don't know, what civil affairs is, you're taught to go in and talk to people, try to deconflict situations. You gather information, you gather intelligence to feed it to the Rangers, the SF, the door kickers to go snatch a bad guy, right? So we win the hearts and minds of people, talk to people, get to know them, and hey, where are the bad guys at? We're here to help you. So that's what civil affairs in a generalization does. So Kosovo comes around, in Bosnia, and I had an NCO who says, hey, you need to deploy. You need to go to Kosovo, somewhere else, because you need to learn how to be a soldier, right? You're just hanging around here. You need to volunteer to go to Kosovo. So I volunteered, raised my hand and said, hey, I want to go to Kosovo. So I think 9 of us from that team, from that unit, were attached to another unit, and I found myself in Kosovo in June of 2001. 20-something years old, no idea what I'm doing in a foreign country. But that's really where I started learning what being a soldier was like, seeing NCOs, right, how the Army works together. So I'm in Kosovo 2001, and guess what happens in September 2001? 9/11.
Yeah.
I'm not home, right? All I can do is we're out on a mission, and it's 4 p.m., and we receive a message on our computer system that was in Humvee. It says return to base. So we're thinking, I wonder what happened. So we come back to base, and there's just choppers flying around. Base is going crazy. You're like, what's going on? So as we make it our way to the front gate, one of the front gate soldiers says, man, they got us. And I'm thinking they hit the base. Okay, something's going on. There's Apaches flying around. And everyone's running to the chow hall, because at the time the chow halls were the TVs were. So we park our Humvee. 4 of us run to the chow hall, and we see the TV. We see what's going on.
Wow.
And it is just dead silence. And 10th Mountain was there. We were attached to 10th Mountain at the time. So 10th Mountain is out of New York, right? And how do you think they feel?
Oh, I can imagine.
And it's just, I think, and I don't want to say I remember exactly what my mom said, but I'm almost positive that at that time I remember Mom saying, what do we have to go to war? So all these thoughts start going through my head were,
I bet.
what's going to happen, right? So I remember going to one of the, back in the day where people probably don't realize this, we used to have calling cards to call home. So imagine a room with 30 payphones or 30 phones, and people would send us gift packages, and they had a calling card. So it was a 1-800 number. So imagine $20 on a calling card, and let's assume it's 5 cents a minute, whatever it is. So you dial the 1-800 number, the operator comes on, you dial the number you want to call home, and I called my mom. So everyone's in line waiting to call home, right?
Right.
And it's just funny now because you think of cell phones and how like what calling card, payphone. Yeah. And I call home, and of course with the time difference, my mom answers, and helpless, just helpless. Like this is going on back home, and I can't be there. So I was like, Mom, how's it going? I mean, what's going on? And she's like, oh, I don't know. I said, Mom, stay away from the stores. And she says, I just went to the grocery store yesterday, so we have groceries for the week. I said, what about Dad? She says, well, your dad has to go to work. I was like, well, he shouldn't be on the, we don't know what's going to happen. I said,
right.
Tell Dad to stay home. She's like, he can. He's got to go to work. He has to go to work. And it's just, you start thinking of the highways, just, everything that could possibly go wrong.
Right.
But I'll never forget that, like, I left my family, and I can't be home for them. And, you know, when I hung up the phone, I was like, that's okay. This is what I signed up for. They're going to be at home. God's going to take care of them. I need to be focused here. And we had a meeting with our NCO that evening, and he says, hey, guys, I need you here. I need you here. Your mind needs to be here.
Right.
We all want to be home. And I didn't have kids at the time, and he did. He said, I want to be home with my kids, but we have a mission here. Okay? We have to have our A game on, because if not, something's going to happen to us. And in conversations like that with leaders is where I realized that's what leadership is. Right? So as I reflect on my 23 years in the Army and, you know, what I do now, all these little things that I experienced were true leaders, right? It's not that he didn't care about his family. It's not that he wanted us to forget about it, but he knew the mission comes first, and we're here. And if we're not on our A game, something's going to happen to us.
Yeah.
So we get up next morning, and every morning we were driving all over Kosovo, talking to different people, trying to understand where the bad people were. And I'll never forget, you know, how do you wake up the next morning and just go to work when all of this is going on back home? But it's the discipline the Army taught us, that you've got to be here. You've got, you know, the NCOs that led us said, I need you here. So I think as I look at 2001, that's when I really started learning leadership, how to lead people, how to have the discipline to be focused on your mission. So let's fast forward. I come home 2002 to a different America. Flags everywhere. Oh, and I'll never forget coming home. We were coming home on a C-17, and the pilot says, hey, I'm going to fly over the Statue of Liberty. There she is. So we look out the little window of the C-17, and I can see the Statue of Liberty. And he puts the AC/DC song Back in Black, which is interesting. My son loves that song. But I was like, man, it feels good to get home. But it really felt good to see patriots, American flags everywhere.
It did. I mean, I remember I was in business with my dad when 9/11 took place, and I wasn't at the office. I wasn't home. I was on the road, but not far from home. And I remember talking to my dad. I was like, Dad, what do we do? Yeah. And what's this going to cause? And I remember my dad, you know, he retired as a lieutenant colonel, and he goes, it's scary, but this is what our military trains for. Mm. And he had the most comforting means about him, knowing that we had a military like we have. But it was amazing to watch how the patriotism just exploded in this country. It is unbelievable. You were proud to be an American. You were pissed off
100%.
Right now. You're ready to go kick some ass and take names. But you were so proud. And I think that's one of the things that drove us as we get closer into talking about Headwaters for Heroes. It was part of that. I want to be a good American. Mm-hmm. I want to take care of those that had the wherewithal, the fortitude, the upbringing that took care of me. And that's exactly what you guys do.
Yeah.
You're taking care of us. And that's overlooked in this day and time, but
yeah, 100%.
We go through phases like that. So,
you know, I went to the gym this morning, and I have a hoodie on the back. It says America, worth fighting for. And I was wondering as I was working out, I wonder how many people behind me look at it and say, I wonder how many people would really say, yeah. Only because I think we've lost a lot of that, like you said. I mean,
we have. We've lost. Well, look how long ago it was. Yeah. I mean, there's kids now, they weren't even born.
Right.
And they don't, and we're not teaching it. We're not.
Correct. Yeah.
And so that's what's incumbent upon us as parents and grandparents, and is to make sure that the younger generation knows what has happened.
Yeah.
We don't teach history like we should.
Yeah.
You know, it's all reinvented history in my mind. You know, when they talk about, well, this really didn't happen in 1776. It was more like, you know, come on, bite me.
And as we jump around, you know, when I hang out with other veterans, my son, who is 16 now, he hears stories. And I'll tell him, son, you know all the movies you see? Those are the guys that I know. These guys are heroes. These guys have been there. So as I hang out with my son, he has an appreciation for our veterans, because he hears them talking. He hears what they went through. He sees the injuries that are still around. And for me, I think it's really great for him to be like, wow, these are the people that fought for America. So as we get further into the conversation just about kids and family and veterans, it's really great Headwaters for Heroes, what you do, and our kids get involved so they can see. I don't need to go watch a movie. I've got heroes right here. My dad's friends who went over there, who gave the ultimate sacrifice, who he has pictures on the wall of them. So it's just really great that like you said, we have to show people what we've done, and the people who've given their ultimate sacrifice for this nation. Yep.
Yeah, and it's tough. I mean, you guys don't come back from war the same.
Yeah.
In most cases. I know there's guys say, I'm fine. But like my dad told me, he said, man, he goes, you just can't help but come back different.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and he was a good Christian man. He found his faith. He found God when he's in Korea.
That's
and
awesome.
Even though my mother was trying to lead him to it, it was, within yards
Mm-hmm.
of my father not being here.
Yeah.
And in that particular case, if my father wasn't here, I wouldn't be here. So, there's a reason for everything.
Absolutely.
And, but you come back a different person.
You do.
So, talk to us a little bit about what war, how does it affect you?
So I come back from Kosovo, 2002, and within 9-10 months, I receive orders to go to Afghanistan, right? And this is like, wow, Afghanistan. This isn't a peacekeeping tour in Kosovo. This is Afghanistan. So 2003, I think it was July 3rd, we ship off to Afghanistan.
Well, hold up just a second. What's the difference? And we've heard this before.
Okay.
What's the difference between a peacekeeping tour and a...
Yeah, good question. So in Kosovo, it was a peacekeeping tour, as in we were there to keep the peace. The war had already finished, the fighting, if you will. So there was no kinetic fighting between forces anymore. So now in Kosovo, the Serbs, the Albanians, the ethnic fighting, if you will, has stopped. So now America is there with NATO and the British and all the other forces to just keep the peace. So we're trying to get people to work together. We're trying to rebuild the infrastructure, but there is no kinetic operations anymore. So there is no fighting. There might be a dispute here and there, but there are no more tanks shooting. So peacekeeping is just that. Once the war is over, we're there to maintain the peace, to keep the Albanians and the Serbians and everyone from fighting again, from stirring up another war. So the peacekeeping tour is us walking around, talking to different people, understanding, hey, how can we build this infrastructure? Okay, you need trash service. Okay, well, this municipality does trash service. They're going to start trash service for your people. So that's what peacekeeping is. It's really just building the country back up.
Got it.
So that's what we were doing 2000, 2001, and I think we still continue because there's still troops in Kosovo to this day, I believe. And that's what we're doing is a stable force maintaining the peace, if you will.
Right.
Just trying to have the government build itself and continue to be somewhat of a functioning nation.
So then you head into Afghanistan. That's got to be a culture shock.
So we land, all the training before Afghanistan, running up mountains, just training, noise and light discipline, the operations at night with only the little red green light that a lot of veterans remember. It's clipped onto your uniform, and you can't have white light. So the C-17 lands, get down, and I remember the back opens for us to get off, and it is just heat that like an oven. I can't even explain it. No lights. Everyone has little red and green lights. So they're trying moving around with the gear, trying to find your stuff when you have no lights, just this little tiny red and green light. We get off, and hey, no white light because of the rockets. So there's incoming mortars where people out in the mountains, they see the white light, and it kind of helps them guide the rocket, if you will, where to shoot it. Where the red and green light from a distance, theoretically, you wouldn't be able to see. So we get off the plane. They take us to this hooch, or where we're going to sleep. There's probably, 20 cots where you can probably fit 10. And everyone is just drop your gear, get something to eat. We'll see you in the morning. So wake up in the morning, and I walk out, and I look around, and we're surrounded by mountains. And this is Afghanistan. The choppers, the noise, the bombs going off where they're dropping ordnance, just the smell, and I remember me and my buddy that I've known for years, we're just like, damn, bro, it's Afghanistan. And it hasn't really hit just yet, right? Because I think it's surreal that you're in Afghanistan. You see, I think, what is it? Rocky 3. I mean, not Rocky, Rambo 3. They're in Afghanistan. So you see the movies, and this is it. And I was still civil affairs at the time. So our mission is to go out to live within the population. So we get to our meeting area, and hey, everyone, here's your teams. I'm going to read your names off. This is who your team is. All right? So then it say, Sergeant Soto, you're going to Jalalabad, and this is your team. Sergeant Borrego, you're going over here. This is your team. And, I gave my buddy a hug. I said, man, I'll see you when I see you. And I said, hey, guys, this is Afghanistan. Some of you are going to leave here and get in a firefight within 30 minutes. Some of you may not see one. Godspeed. See you soon. So I'm thinking we're going to get dropped off, in the arm. No. So then we meet the guys we're replacing, and there's 3 Humvees, right? One armored, right? The up armored, which has, the bulletproof type of doors and windows, and 2 other ones that are what's called a turtle shell, soft shell, and then a Hilux truck, Toyota. So I'm like, okay, guys, this is our trucks. Where are we going? We're going to Jalalabad. Hey, guys, it's going to be a long 9-hour ride, so be prepared.
Wow.
And it dawned on me, 9 hours. Like, yeah, hey, guys, lock and load. Whenever you walk around, lock and load, keep weapon unsafe. There is no, in Kosovo, we didn't have a magazine in our weapon. The magazines with ammo was on our persons, but it wasn't in the M16. In Afghanistan, no, it's in there, it's chambered, put it on safe. All my training, you never have a live round. You just don't. Now you're in Afghanistan, like, you better have a live round and have it on safe. So we load up in these vehicles. All right, guys, let's go. We exit the base, and boom, there's Afghanistan. People, donkeys everywhere, people walking, cars everywhere, and it is just 4 vehicles hauling ass down the road. And it is just, talk about anxiety for 9 hours straight. Well, then we get to the bad area where they have been hit before. So then it's, hey, guys, all the windows down, all your weapons out. So we put all the windows down, and we have our weapons pointed out. And we're just gunning it. I mean, these Humvees are not made for this. And hit the gas on the floor, don't stop. And I wasn't driving. I was in the passenger seat thinking, man, it's going to be tough to shoot out of this vehicle if I have to shoot. I can't really see. All these things start going through your head. It's too late. You've got to figure it out. And all these people just covered with blankets or have a donkey cart, motorcycles. Everyone's, to me, an enemy.
Right.
And it is just amazing I don't know what to do. Right? It's just, I'm scared. Am I ever going to see my friends and family again? So we get to the safe house. Being a civil affairs team, we were actually an 8-man team, and we were living with some guys from the SF team and another team in a 3-house compound. And that was maybe a force of 20, 22 of us. That was it. 9 hours away from the main base. That's where we lived. That's where we lived. That was, and then we had some defenses. We had some mercenaries that we hired. So essentially, imagine you're in Afghanistan, and you go to the local and you say, "Hey, Ron, you got some guys that can protect me? Hey, John, you got some guys? Okay, well, I'll pay your guys $100 a month. I'll pay your guys $100 a month. Great, thanks." That was our protection.
Oh, wow.
Right? I mean, we're 20-something of us, and I mean, obviously we can defend ourselves, but that's not enough for a firefight. So we've got these mercenaries that we hired, and talk about, yeah. You look at them and you're like, I wonder if this guy knows how to even use that weapon. But they do. They're Afghan fighters, but I don't know who they are. I don't know where their loyalty lies. Turns out they were Uzbeks, Tajiks. So prior to that, before I went to Afghanistan, we hired locals, not locals, but we hired a contractor to teach us Farsi, Persian Farsi, for 33 days. I took Spanish as my first language, and then I learned English. I can probably be better at it. And then I studied French in high school and in college. So I have a pretty knack for languages. So I picked up Persian and Farsi in 33 days.
Wow.
Enough to have a conversation and build trust. So I was using it in Afghanistan to get to know some of these mercenaries and just talk, and I would hear what they were talking about. But yeah, so just imagine being in a compound, 3-house compound in the middle of Afghanistan, and we've got close air support, but it's in the middle of a city. This is literally in the middle of Jalalabad, Afghanistan, that we're living. And there's an alley behind us, and there's a farm field in front of us. So we always had somebody pulling security the farm to look over the grass. So at night, we had 2-hour shifts. Everyone would have night vision looking into this farm field because a couple of days prior, they found a rocket that had been planted pointing towards the house, but it didn't go off. And that was life every day after a mission, was coming back and realizing we'll probably get here at home. And what I mean by coming back is, so in Afghanistan, our job was to go out and win the populace, explain to them why we were in Afghanistan. So that was my job as a civil affairs sergeant. It was an 8-man team. So when we would go out in the city, we would go out in 2 or 3 vehicles, and that's it. And what we did is we realized, hey, we need to be camouflaged. So we didn't take Humvees. We were driving around Toyotas. I had a maroon Land Cruiser and 2 Toyota trucks to blend in and get in and out.
Wow.
I mean, your truck has no security if you get shot at, right? Same thing with these Land Cruisers. There's no body armor. There's nothing. So every morning we'd get up, after breakfast, and okay, where are we going? Today we're going to go to this village. And we're talking hours out we would drive. It wasn't like a drive around the town. We would go 4, 5, 6 hours out to this village to talk to some of the most remote people and ask them where the Taliban were. Try to get as much intelligence as we could. Try to earn their trust, because we were getting shot at and rocketed, right? From where? They know where, right? So we were trying to win the hearts and minds and explain to them that we're not here to take over Afghanistan, because that's a propaganda. Taliban was telling the Afghans that we were there to take over and rape their women like the Russians did. That's what they were using as their propaganda. So Taliban's walking around saying, look, America invaded us. They're here to rape the women. They're here to take over a country like the Russians. So now the people are in the middle. Who do we listen to?
Right.
Do we listen to the Taliban, who obviously are not good to us, but they're kind of right. The Russians were here, the British were here, and now the Americans are here. And the Afghans are very, very proud. They're never going to be conquered, right? So now they're thinking, well, this American here is telling me that he's here, and I should trust him. But wait a minute, this American speaks Farsi. And here's what's interesting. There's a lot more to this, but I was growing a beard. Now in Afghanistan, Mohammed had a red tint to his beard. Okay.
Really?
He did. He had a red tint to his beard. So in Afghanistan, when you see these videos and they paint their beard red, it's because they're honoring Mohammed, because Mohammed had like a red tint to his beard.
Did not know that.
Yeah. So when the sun would hit my beard, I had a red tint. So I automatically had a certain level of respect because I was blessed by Allah to have a red tint in my beard.
Wow.
There's just so much to that, but I was utilizing that to my advantage to earn their trust. So they knew me as the American that speaks Farsi, right? I was able to earn trust. They would tell me where the bad guys were. I would then come back and relay the intel to the Rangers, the SF guys, the door kickers, and they would go do their job. So it was my job to find out where the bad people were. The poppy that they were growing, the heroin, they were find out where the fields were, right? Because we have to build the country back up. So that's how I started my tour in Afghanistan, is in the middle of Jalalabad, Afghanistan, in the middle of a city, driving around every day in Toyotas and Land Cruisers, trying to sneak in and out before people knew who we were. Now, once they knew who we were, we had to hurry up back because everyone has a cell phone, right? The old Nokia phones back in the day, and they're calling people.
Right.
So every day we would drive around looking at people. Are they Taliban? Because they're all embedded. They all look the same.
Right.
And obviously our SF counterparts would do their job, and they would give us intel on where to be careful, what routes, what to take. But you're trusting these Afghan mercenaries, right? So I'd be in the back of a pickup truck with 4 Afghans. I have no idea are they going to shoot me. I'm paying them $50 a month or $20, whatever it was at the time, right? Their loyalty lies on whoever pays them the most. Has somebody infiltrated them and wanted to kill us? So that also was a level of anxiety of, I don't know who these people are in the back of the truck. And you had to have an American in the back of the truck so that we don't get shot while we're driving.
Wow. Well, it brings up a point. You're talking about you paying them $50 a month or $100, whatever that number is. in the movies, we see, those officers have stacks of $100 bills that they're handing out. So how real is that?
It is 100% real because I was called the FOO officer, financial officer something. We had to go to training, and I won't give you the dollar amount, but
That's not the same as a Foo Fighter, though.
No, it's not. So we would essentially, once a month or once every 2 months, we would make a trip, that 9-hour drive back to Bagram Air Base, and we would go to the finance office. We would turn in all our receipts for everything we bought, get another 25, 30, 40,000 based on whatever it is that we needed, because there is no credit cards and there is no IOU in Afghanistan. It is cold hard cash. Well, we would get resupplied through a chopper. So the airfield was approximately maybe 10 minutes from us. And what's interesting about the Air Force is they use Zulu time, right? Which a lot of veterans understand what it is, but we could never get the time right. Zulu time is 4 hours ahead or whatever. We could never get the time right. So we're sitting like you and I talking, and we hear the chopper. Oh, resupply. So we would haul ass to the airfield to get the supplies before the locals did, before they stole our stuff. So they would open the Chinook would drop the back and just kick off pallets of Gatorade, powdered eggs, whatever food, MREs, anything we could take, sea rations, just food, and we would load it in the back of the trucks and haul ass back to camp. And we would have just stacks of food because that was our food to survive. So back to your question, we would be in Bagram, and they'd give us cash. We'd sign for it, 25,000, 30, whatever. Every location was different based on needs. And that was our money to pay the guards, pay anyone that we needed help from, order supplies, fix flat tires, fix the truck, and we'd come back. And I needed a receipt for everything. So, can I get a receipt? What Afghan is going to say, sure. So we would have our interpreter say, give me a receipt for this tire. And one time, it was interesting, we needed the oil changed. So then everything is, oh, yeah, I know somebody, right? So we go back, and we have our guards that are protecting the vehicles. And I said, okay, we're going to have the oil change. Where's the mechanic? Oh, he'll be here in a little bit. I don't know, some 10, 12-year-old kid shows up. And he's like, you need oil? And I was like, who's this guy? Oh, it's a mechanic. I said, it's a kid. No. Neshta. Good mechanic. It's like, I'm not going to pay some kid and break international law to change my oil. I'll do it myself. But it's a different life. But yeah, it is true. That is true. Cold, hard cash is what made that country run to keep us alive. Because if we didn't pay our guards, Taliban would end up paying them. And we were even told by some guards, I need an increase. Taliban's going to pay me 75. If you don't pay me 75, I'm going to go join them.
Wow.
Here's 80. I'm serious.
Well, if it's all in American money, and I'm assuming it was all in American money, does that not create? I mean, what was the local money? I mean, was it?
It was rupee. It was Pakistan money. So the Afghani was just starting to come out when I was there in 2003, and we were trying to build confidence into the Afghan economy, but they didn't have any confidence in their government, so they would accept rupees, which is Pakistani money, or American dollars. And rupees, you have to have like 50,000 bills to make up $10 or something like that. It's crazy. So we use American dollars, and that's what we had to use. We didn't have a choice. We would actually try to use Afghani money, and they would not take it because they had no confidence in their government. So we had to go back to U.S. dollars or rupees. Yeah, I'm talking, we would send our interpreter to the market to bring, Fanta. If I wanted a soda, right, I couldn't just go to the store and get a Fanta. So I would pay our interpreter, hey, go get me a Fanta real quick. Give me a case of Fanta, and the soldiers would share it. We were hungry. We'd go to the market and get some food. We ate Afghan food all the time. We wanted to show people that we were not afraid to walk in the market. So we would be in our uniforms, our weapons, walking in the market, shopping, buying fruit, to show that we were not afraid of the Taliban. But I tell you what, every day we did that. When you come home, because you were shaking hands, talking to everybody, but man, your anxiety level was, you don't know what's going to happen in that market. Yeah. And that's what we did every day. Every day we left the base, the safe house. Every day, going to different locations, trying to find the Taliban, to report it, trying to help people, trying to talk about if we build a school, and there's so much corruption in Afghanistan. And that's what we were trying to do, is trying to help build the country. But now it's been 20-something years, and I don't know if we made a difference. As I reflect on everything we've done, did it even really help? That's the sad part. I don't think it's because it's our fault, but them as a people and them as a country, you have to want to help yourself.
Right.
So that was Afghanistan 2003. December-ish, we get a message that there's a team that needs support up in the north, right? It was a ranger group that wanted some civil affairs support. It's up in the Hindu Kush Mountains. So we get a message that we're going to send a 5-man team up there. So I'm one of the 5 guys. All we get is a grid coordinate and bring one backpack. That's it. So I get my rucksack, pack it whatever I can. And, with the choppers, when they land, you can't hear anything. So what you do is you write the grid coordinates, or you write the message on your hand, and you show it to the crew chief. And we showed him the grid coordinates. He said, yep, you're the guys. Get in. We get in, and there's all these guys in this chopper, all these special operators. We're like, okay, what is going on here? So we get attached to a task force. We get dropped. We're actually going in, and we were on a Sea Stallion. In the back of the Sea Stallion, the back door is open. So if you can imagine the back open, and there's a gunner just kind of hanging out back there. And the chopper has a kind of a bounce to it, like a rhythm. Mm-hmm. So your weapon is facing down, and I'm having my hands on my weapon, just kind of bouncing around. You start hearing a ding, ding, ding. Like, what is that? Well, I look left. Well, the AK rounds are coming in. They were shooting. The rounds were coming in the chopper.
Oh God!
So the pilot starts, swaying back and forth, and the gunner starts shooting. And we don't have seatbelts on, so I just hold on to a cargo net, hold on to my weapon. I don't want to lose my weapon. And so we land somewhere, and the crew chief, man, they almost got us. We're gonna get him. We're gonna get him. I'm thinking, like, this dude's happy. He's, Turns out, as I learned more of where we were, they're from the 160th. So it was a 160th SOAR, which are the best pilots, the best guys that are out there in the business. And we were attached to a Ranger battalion for certain missions that were up there that were going on at the time. And so we land somewhere, and we're waiting. And it's, what are we waiting for? We're waiting for the Cobras. Oh man, I've never seen a Cobra. We take off, and the Cobras are the Marines. So 2 Cobras are now escorting us in, right? And they take off, do what they need to do when we get shot at again. And I never forget looking out, and I can see the pilot. That's how close they were to us. And I'm just looking at, like, man, that's a bad motherfucker. And so we hey, as soon as we land, get off. So we land in, I have the radio. I was a radio guy at the time for my team. So I have the radio and my rucksack, and that thing is heavy. I mean, I don't know, maybe 60, 70 pounds. Well, when we land, we don't really touch down. We jump off. Well, I jump in mud, okay? So the mud comes up to my knees. Now I'm stuck. So I can't move. I have the radio. I'm trying to, it's just too heavy. I can't move. My buddy jumps off with me, kind of helps me unload. My radio helps pull my back, if you will, up. So we start getting out of the mud, and we end up, we all obviously get out of the bird, and we are in what is now called Foul Blessing. Blessing had been killed 2 days prior to that, and that's where I ended up. Like, now I know where I was and the name of it, but yeah, so I was there. Blessing had just been killed. He was a PFC, he was a Ranger, and that's what they named after him, was Foul Blessing. But we were there to help support, from a civil affairs perspective, the Rangers, and I think it was 10th Mountain. There was so many people there going after somebody in the area, and we were there to provide support. And, so many memories of that. I was there for a couple of weeks, but one of the memories was I spent Thanksgiving there. And, soldiers, we find a way to make it fun. And I remember for Thanksgiving, they flew in what's called mermites, which is a big old, imagine what's now probably like a Yeti type of cooler, that thick, but it's got food in it. And they're called mermites. Yeah. We
use them a lot nowadays.
Yes, so mashed potatoes.
Yeah.
The fixins come in, so they bring us food. And we found some plywood. We put 55-gallon drums with plywood on top of it, and we used empty sandbags as placemats. We used water bottles with whatever grass we could find as our centerpieces. And we had Thanksgiving out there. And I tell you what, Steve, one of the best Thanksgivings. Everyone was smiling.
Really?
Everyone was just joking, having a good time. Here we are, getting mortared all the time, but we're all having a good time. In Afghanistan, on the side of a mountain, eating turkey. And we're all in it together. Guys were playing checkers with the water bottle because the water bottles had white caps or blue caps. So we saved them to make checkers. So we drew a checkerboard, and there's 2 or 3 guys playing checkers with these bottle caps. And it's just, when I reflect on what, we talked about family earlier. That was family. That was Thanksgiving. That was Thanksgiving with my family. We didn't need all the stuff. We just need to be together and look at left and right and say we're in this together. And that was just an amazing, amazing Thanksgiving. Empty sandbags, 55-gallon drum with plywood that's lopsided. Plywood is never flat. Guys playing checkers. Just throwing a water bottle like a football, because most people throw a football, right? Especially down here in Texas on Thanksgiving.
Yeah.
So guys throwing drank some water, make it somewhat weighted, and throwing a water bottle like a football. Just, wow. Happy Thanksgiving, guys.
Adapt and overcome.
Yeah.
Well, that's amazing. I can imagine what the Afghans must have thought of, you're there and you're celebrating. You're not home. You're celebrating one of your holidays on their turf.
Yeah.
To me, I would have thought that's when they would have really just jumped you.
Well, I think there was Apaches surrounding us and keeping watch, and I think what I saw was leadership. Our leaders said, we're giving these guys Thanksgiving. We're flying turkey in. We'll provide Apaches to fly around to keep them safe, so that because no one ever shoots at us when there's Apaches around. Not that dumb, but that's leadership, right?
Yeah.
They could have just said, "Hey guys, we're at war, figure it out." But no. Some leaders said, take these guys food. Take these guys mashed potatoes. Take these guys gravy and turkey. Let them make the best of it. So it just goes back to leadership. Is some people are great leaders. And that's, again, as I reflect on everything that I went through, and I realized some leader made that decision and said, don't forget about these guys.
Yeah.
And think about it. I still hold that story close to my heart because some leader said, these guys deserve it.
Yeah, because you do hear the stories of people in leadership positions that really make some bad decisions or choose not to lead.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it's great to hear that. And I know, talking with my dad, one of the things that as an officer, he loved his sergeants and he loved his master sergeants because they got shit done.
Yes.
And so he would always be asking them, what do the guys need?
Yeah.
And he trusted them, and he always tried to make sure they had what they needed. Yeah. And I think, when I don't care where you're at in life, if someone cares about you enough to do that, you'll give them your all.
One of the greatest NCOs told me one time, don't ever do anything for an award. If you do it for an award, you're doing it for the wrong reason.
Yeah.
And that, to this day, the great leaders believed that. The bad leaders that I saw wanted an award. They wanted to name somewhere. They wanted something to be remembered of. Yeah. They wanted to get promoted. That's what they wanted. And we see that. Soldiers can see that. And we see who the true leaders are. So that stuck with me even to this day. And that's something that's helped me to humble myself and remember it's not about the award, right? It's about you doing what comes out of your heart.
Well, it's the same thing that we tell our volunteers here. If you're here for the recognition, you're here for the wrong reason.
100%.
It's not about that. You're secondary as a volunteer here, because our platform is bringing guys like yourself together to spend time together. It's not about us. And I tell our volunteers, y'all take a back seat and listen. When they are comfortable, they'll engage you. Yeah. You're here to serve. And we've gone through our share of people that were here for the recognition, that wanted to be involved in an event so they could be up front and get a picture taken, or they wanted some kind of plaque or a T-shirt. They wanted something, and that's the wrong thing. And so you see that in our deals. We've scaled them back. I think that hunt you were on, God, would we have 12 guys out here hunting or something? It was a big deal. It was cold. It was nasty.
And I want to get to that hunt shortly because it's so memorable. But so the missions that we were supporting, what was going on at the time, obviously due to classifications, we can't get into it. We come back down to Asadabad. So I was in Jalalabad, made it up north. I never made it back down to Jalalabad. They said, hey, we're going to put you now in a place called Asadabad. I go, what? Okay. It's Afghanistan, whatever. So we end up finding ourselves in Asadabad, where we had Marines there, Special Forces there, Rangers there, other people there, everyone there. And I really got to see how operations work, how they work together, who owns what's called the battle space, who's really in charge, who's not in charge, different types of leadership, and just so many different things that I saw. And we get there, and we start talking to these guys, and these guys are burnt out. They're getting hit all the time, and they're like, you know what, this place sucks. Why are we trying to help these people when they don't care about us? And my leader says, hey, that's not the right attitude to have. We're here to do a job. Our job is civil affairs, and that's what we're going to do. Tomorrow morning, we're going out. They're like, we're not going with y'all. Okay. I was the NCOIC. I wasn't the NCOIC down in Jalalabad, but I was a senior ranking NCO in Asadabad, so now it's on me to lead these guys. And my officer comes to me and says, Sergeant Soto, we're not going to have that attitude. I said, you're right, sir. We're here for a mission. Our mission is to go out and talk to people, not sit behind the wire. We're going to go out every day like we did in Jalalabad. Now, in Asadabad, it's a lot different. There's a lot more kinetic activity, a lot more attacks, a lot more mortars coming in. There's just a lot more going on. But my officer, he was in Bosnia, he was in Kosovo, and he knew this is what we do. This is what we do. We leave the wire, and we go talk to people because that's what we're here to do. Roger that, sir. All right, we leave in the morning. Get up in the morning. Everything went wrong that morning. So we asked for support to go out on a mission. And overnight, there was some kinetic activity where our support said, hey, we can't go. We got to go support these guys. This is bad leadership. We were driving around in Toyotas, like I mentioned, right? Mm-hmm. That's what we were doing. We were also growing beards to fit in because you got to read the room, and we had to have a beard so we could blend in, right? I had a black hoodie. I still have actually that black hoodie. I had mailed my mom to send me a black hoodie and took a while to get there, but I still have it. And I still have the Spurs hat that I wore when I was in Afghanistan, 2003. And I was wearing a black hoodie, my Spurs hat, because we wanted to blend in so people wouldn't really know who we were. And our leadership, it's like, why are you driving around in Toyotas? You guys are not operators. You guys need to go out in Humvees. Okay. Well, Steve, who's in Humvees?
Yeah.
The Army.
Yeah.
Right? Who's in Toyotas? Everybody. So we say, fine, we're going to go on a mission with Toyotas. And this is when digital cameras started coming out. It's like, hey, we'll take photos, send it to the boss, and say, yeah, we're not running around Toyotas. So we, the hair in the back of your neck, it's true. It is 1,000% true. I said, sir, I don't have a good feeling about this. Something's not right. He's like, we got to go. I said, okay, let's do it. So we mount up the vehicle. We're taking off. About an hour into the route we're going on, the Humvee starts making this ta-dap, ta-dap, ta-dap. Like, what is that? I'm not a mechanic. I don't know what the hell it is. Pull over and I don't know what it is, sir. We got to turn around. He's all right. So we turn around and come back. And in Afghanistan, there's so much dust, right? So I was the lead vehicle in the Humvee. We had 2 Toyota trucks in between us for the local guards. And what's interesting is we had gotten the local mayor to come with us to go to this village to talk to people and maybe build a school, get to know the families. And he was adamant that he wanted to be in a second vehicle. He was adamant. Would not change his mind. And we said, we will not pay you or build your school if you don't in the first vehicle, right? When we roll in and we get out, you need to be with us. Leadership, right?
Right.
Well, now I know why he didn't want to be in the first vehicle. So we turn around, we're coming back. I look in the rearview mirror to make sure I can still see the Toyota trucks because you can't see anything. So I would slow down, make sure I can still see them. Okay, they're still back there, right? Because if something happens, I won't be able to hear them or I'll be a flat tire or something.
Right.
And I look back. I can see the headlights. As soon as I turn right, just this massive explosion. It's an IED that goes off under our truck. The guys behind me said that the truck almost at a 90-degree angle almost flipped over. and it slammed down. I remember the hit, and I hit my head on the side on the bulletproof glass of the Humvee, and my gunner falls down. He's got blood all over his face, and I'm, hey, Gonzalez, I'm hitting him. Are you awake? Hey, and I'm thinking he's dead. He's not moving. He's not responding, and it's like, well, I think we're getting shot at. It's tap, tap, tap. It was the fan of the Humvee that was hitting.
Oh, God.
The front, whatever. So it feels like we're getting shot at. So I got to get out and return fire, right? So I open the door to return fire, and I fall. I guess from the concussion or not sure what. And then it stops. So I realize there's no one else around us. I get back in the vehicle, and I'm thinking he's dead. When he makes a noise, it's from the shrapnel that hit his face. All the blood was coming down, so he was alive. So I take him. I call the other vehicles. I look back, and the guys are just stunned. I don't know what to do. So we call our medic to come help us, and he's afraid to come up because is there a second IED, right? So I pull my buddy out of the vehicle, put him on the next to the rim of the vehicle so I can inspect him, and I protect his body from getting shot at just in case. And I'm calling the medic over. The medic comes over, attends to him, and now so it was a solo attack. So there was no other people in the area. Now what do? We're out in the middle of nowhere on the road. There's nobody around, right? What do you think is not working? Radios. So when you see in the movies where sometimes the Army radios don't work, it happens all the time.
Wow.
It happens more than people think. Those things don't work. We're in a valley. We are trying to connect to our home base. Hey, this is where we are. Nobody's picking up. We got to tell the radio guy, hey, you got to stand up on top of the Humvee and extend the antenna. Well, we see a guy in the mountains in the distance. So we send the local Afghans that we had hired. The guys were paying $50, $60 a month, whatever it is. Go find out if he has a radio, if it was him. So they take off running, right, to catch that guy in the mountain. And we're trying to call in, and we're thinking if we get shot at, we're in trouble. If we get ambushed, we're done. We've got a vehicle down. What are we going to do? So then he says, I'll get on top of the Humvee. So he's standing on top of the Humvee. Perfect position for a sniper to take him out. He extends the antenna. He's trying to get a hold of somebody. He gets a hold of some OP on a different mission, relays it. So they're like relaying it 3 or 4 different times to people. Who's out there? Who are they? There's so many operations going on that it's chaos. Who? What guys? What unit? What? It's just, civil affairs. We kind of do our own thing, so it's hard to get support because no one really knows who we are. Right. It's not like, hey, this is a second of this. This is that. It's who? What civil affairs team? From where? So the Marines pick up. They hear the call. And I tell you what, Steve, when those Marines came over that hill, man, they came maybe 40, 50 of them.
Wow.
They came out there. And, we joke around, for those that see the military, we joke around with the Navy and Air Force. We all mess with each other here in the States. But I tell you what, those Marines, hey, man, what do you need? Hey, let me get a doc for you. Let me help you out. They were there to help us. They were locked and loaded, ready to take anybody out. Well, now people start coming out to see what's going on. So all these locals start coming around us. And these Marines pull a perimeter, and they load us up in the vehicle and then take us back. And then my understanding was, so they had the vehicle towed back to our base. And this is what the guy was talking about. When that vehicle was being towed to the village people were clapping and cheering because that Humvee was destroyed.
Wow.
The people that I'm out there trying to talk to and help are clapping, and they're happy that this vehicle was destroyed, probably thinking that some Americans were killed. What do? You shouldn't, right, cancel the mission. The mission's a mission. Get back to camp. There's a ranger medic there. He has a portable, pretty cool x-ray machine, takes some x-rays on my back. He gives me some Motrin, a bottle of Motrin, says, I got to go. We have another mission. We got to go. Takes off. All I get is a bottle of Motrin. They had asked for a medevac, and I said, I think I'll be okay. I think I'll be all right. Let's save the medevac for someone else. I'll be okay. So about 2 or 3 days, I'm on bed rest, just really, really aching my back. And I never forget my OIC says, he comes in, he's like, hey, Sergeant Soto, we need to get back out there. Guys are scared. If you go, they're going to follow you. We got to go back out there. We can't sit here. All right, sir. I'll be lead vehicle again. A couple of days later, so I get another vehicle, and here we are doing what we're doing, going back out because the mission has to continue. So here we are going back out, talking to different people, doing all these different things that civil affairs does. And I'll never forget what he told me. If you go, they'll follow you. Because that's leadership.
Mm-hmm.
We were all afraid. Hell, I was afraid. I can't even tell you how I felt when I started driving and I left that base. It's like I survived once. Am I that lucky I'm going to survive again?
Right.
But he was right. The men were scared. My guys they were going to follow me, and I can't sit behind and say, no, y'all go ahead. I had to lead from the front, right?
Right.
Like my dad taught me. If you're going to do anything, do it right the first time, right? I saw his work ethic, and I followed it. Now I got to show them work ethic. So we go back out, and every day is just, this is it. This is it. And it was trying to maintain composure after that, right? And just sucking down Motrin like candy. So we fast forward. We get to Bagram Air Base to come home. A lot more operations go on, a lot more. But this is what I want to talk about: leadership. That medic who gave me the bottle of Motrin, who tried to help me as best he could before he had to go on another mission. I wish I could find his name, but I can't read his writing on the form that I have. He went to my unit. He found my unit, S1, which is a personnel, when he was at Bagram Air Base. And he said, hey, I treated this guy from your unit. He needs to be in for Purple Heart because of what happened out there. Here's his form. That one form is what helped me from a medical standpoint, for the VA, for my Purple Heart was approved that I didn't even know was being submitted, because that one medic showed leadership.
Wow.
Let me go find this guy's unit. Let me go take care of the medical.
Yeah, he didn't have to do that.
No, he didn't. But that's leadership.
Yeah.
And
that's incredible.
It is.
That is incredible. Because you wouldn't think, with all the chaos and everybody's got their mission, everybody's got their direction to go, that he took the initiative to come back and do the right thing.
Yeah.
That's incredible. Because, you don't see that in today's society.
Yeah.
Of taking care of each other. It goes back to the work ethic. You talked about the mission. The mission is the mission.
Mm-hmm.
We've got to stay on point. Well, too often in work today, the mission is to do this. I don't like doing it. See ya.
Yeah.
And you see it in managers.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's incredible what I see out there.
Yeah.
And maybe that's why people don't last long working for me. But it's like there's not the same work ethic. And, we talk about, I never served, okay? My dad encouraged me to, but he encouraged me, like he went to A&M, so he got in the Army as an officer. Mm-hmm. He encouraged me to go to A&M and be a part of the ROTC. And it just wasn't me. It wasn't me. It wasn't the path that I chose to follow. Yeah. But it's like, it's probably not a bad idea for everybody to serve, to learn. Yeah. And so that's, I don't know, but that's admirable. I wish we could find that guy. That is something else.
I tried, but I think at the end of the day, I hope he knows, and I'm sure he does, because I'm sure he looks left and looks right and knows people who don't do the right thing. Mm-hmm. But he saved me. He from a Veterans Affairs perspective, for benefits, that one piece of paper is what helped me get all the benefits that I needed in the care. So I come home. You talked about earlier, you don't come home the same, and I think it's that macho, because when you come home, they ask you who's injured, let's take you to medical. No, I'm fine, because we always just want to come home. Mm-hmm. We just want to come home. So I come home, the PTSD settles in, so of course, turn to alcohol. It's the way to do it. My girlfriend at the time, we were talking about getting serious, and it was just too much. So I just turned to alcohol, and that's what I did for a very, very long time. All the pain, I just would suck down Tylenol, Motrin, everything to mask it. So fast forward,
Now, we talking physical pain or mental pain?
both.
Both. Yeah.
Both,
Okay.
yeah.
That's
What happened was I actually shifted, was unaware what happened because of my injury. I shifted my gait, which means I was walking completely different. So rather than my hips move, I know people can't see, but your hips move like this, I was moving them like this. So I changed the way I walked. Didn't even know it. Didn't even know it. Because I wasn't running at the time. I was running just enough to pass the physical fitness test, but I wasn't into endurance running.
right.
And that's where the injuries came out later from my gait shifting. So then I went what's called AGR, active duty. I switched over to intelligence because of my injuries. I couldn't do, at the time, civil affairs was under special operations. So we had to do certain things to maintain that special operations title, if you will. A ruck march of 10 miles, drown proofing, you had to drown proof in the pool, all these different things to stay under the special operations umbrella. And I couldn't. So a leader says, hey, I need a military intelligence person. Let me switch your MOS, your job, to military intelligence. You get to stay with us, but you don't have to do all the physical extra stuff, but you could still stay in the fight with this unit. So I did this. Send me to school. So I come back from MI school, so now I'm an intelligence analyst for the same unit, right? Leaders taking care of me, right? Instead of me getting med boarded out, kicked out, or for underperformance, like, how do we keep him in? How can we help him? Not make it easy for him, right? Just make it easier.
Right.
So I stayed in the unit as military intelligence analyst. 2011 comes around, and the unit that I'm in is going back to Afghanistan. And I had a bunch of kids, and I say kids because they were in their 20s. Now, I already had Kosovo under my belt in Afghanistan. I'll never forget one of the kids. Sergeant Soto, can you help us come back?
Oh, wow.
You know, we go to the range, and it is just, some of these people don't know what they're doing. You know, and what was interesting is that they're asking me, help us come back. And they're scared. And at this time, I have a son now, right? I have my stepdaughter at the time. Now I have a son. I have 2 kids at home. I have a wife now. And I'm leaving one family to go with another family, right? And that's probably the most difficult circumstance that a veteran finds himself in, is you always wish you could be back with your guys. Why? Because of your family. But then people ask, well, how can you leave this family? And that's why a lot of veterans struggle, even myself, because there's a part of us that always wants to go back with the guys. And people look at it and say, why would you want to leave your family? Because I left one. These guys, they're your family.
Right.
How do you choose between 2 families? And that's the struggle. So we go to the range, and I put 2 or 3 rounds in a magazine, because this is when all the cool gear starts coming out, right? The war had been going on for a couple of years already. You got all these companies making all this cool gear, and all these guys on range day, I tell them, bring your gear, bring whatever you think is going to work for you, because when we get to Afghanistan, you're going to use your gear. If you don't want the Army stuff, don't use it. Bring whatever you need to survive. Okay. And I'm doing this for a reason. They show up with this. Magazines are held sideways, just whatever. That's okay. I want you to put 3 rounds in every magazine. 3 rounds. Okay. So we're at the range, and they're laying on what's called the prone. They're shooting, and at the time the magazine runs out, so they take their time, take the magazine out, put it in the well, and get it ready. Okay, great. Now let me show you what it's really going to be like. I'm yelling at them, kicking dirt in their face. Come on, come on. Half of them got rid of their gear because it looked cool, but it didn't work.
Right.
And that's when I said, look, guys, don't spend money on your gear. And if you want to, but you got to train like you fight. You got to go out there and practice this stuff. These guys are taking photos with their cool gear, and let's see if it really works. And to me, I was thinking, this is why I'm here. This is why I was spared the first time, to help these guys for this deployment, right? And I'm a father now. I don't want to leave my son. My son was, 3, 4 years old? And I'll never forget, I told my wife, I have to. First of all, I don't have a choice. But even if I did have a choice, I'd volunteer. I'd volunteer to help these guys. There's no guarantee I'm going to. I don't have the power to keep them all alive. But if I can give them just a little bit of hope, then that's what I'm here to do. Train these guys. go to Afghanistan, and now I'm in southern Afghanistan. And I tell you what, I told you earlier, my 2003 deployment, I would talk to people because I spoke Farsi. The hatred in 2011 was everywhere. It was not the same Afghanistan.
Well, when we talked to Matt, he fought the Southern. He said it was totally different battlefields. They did everything differently.
Yeah. So I was in the northern part in 2003. 2011, I find myself in the southern part, and it was just different. Hatred. Just, I think the war had already been going on for so many years. They were just tired of us being there.
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is the kids that we probably gave candy to in 2003 are now teenagers.
And you're fighting them.
Exactly.
Wow, man. That's wow.
And I came home in 2012, and I remember, and this is where I finally realized what it's like to ask for help and why. So I'm walking in our building, and I heard three guys talk about mental health. I said, hey, man, you guys are going? Behavioral health is what I call the time. You guys are going? It's like, yeah, Sergeant Soto, you should come too. I said, really? Well, yeah, it's been helping me, counseling. And then I went. All it took was one guy to admit he was going. I knew I needed to go.
Mm-hmm.
I just didn't want to, because that's not what you do.
Right.
All it took was one guy to say, come with me. And I went. Went for a year to behavioral health. And she went into my past, went into my 2003 deployment. And she said, you've been carrying this. So 2003, I survived, right? Let's go back. 2005, there's another deployment. My buddies go back. I don't go on that deployment. My buddy's killed not too far from where I was hit. So what happened in Afghanistan is when they put a landmine, they figure it doesn't do enough damage. Well, these clowns start stacking them now. Now you're talking 2, 3 mines.
Wow.
They make the hole bigger. They start adding stuff for more damage. So now I was diagnosed with survivor's guilt. I came home and he did it.
Yeah.
And I had that for years, always drinking, just trying to numb the pain. And I never knew what it was until I went to behavioral health and she explained to me what I have. And it all makes sense of why I am the way I am, the anger, the hate, am I good enough, the depression, all of that. It's because I was carrying the guilt of being alive and my friends weren't.
Wow.
And then you start looking at other people who didn't come home.
Yeah.
And had I not heard one guy said, let's go, probably wouldn't have done it. And that's the power of us veterans is if asking for help was easy, everybody would do it.
Yeah.
And I think that's, if one thing that any veteran who hears this or anyone can take away, if asking for help was easy, everyone would do it. That's the bottom line. Ask for help if you need it.
Yeah. We're going to take a break and come back, and we're going to talk more about your hunt with Headwaters for Heroes and talk more about that working together and getting that help.
Okay.
We'll be right back, folks. We're back after that short break. And Ray, man, you were talking about just things that you've been through, and it's incredible when you talk about the behavioral side of it. I think it's awesome when the guys can admit it like you did and do something, because our suicide rate is just incredible. I know the numbers are down.
Mm-hmm.
Now, is the numbers down because people are seeking help? Is it down just because there's not as many veterans? I know that's cold to say,
Yeah.
but you did something about it. And that's what I find very, very incredible, because too many times, and I'm guilty of it, not asking for the help when I need it, and then it goes sideways.
Well, Steve, we're going to jump around, but you asked, I did something about it, and I kind of want to stop there and say, no, Steve, you did. Headwaters for Heroes did. And let me tell you why. The other night, I wasn't in the best mood. You know why I texted? Matthew Deathridge.
Yeah.
And I met him through Headwaters for Heroes. So what you and people like you, Headwaters for Heroes, what you're doing is you're giving us resources. That's what you're doing.
I gave you each other.
I've got people that I can call whenever I need.
Yeah.
Right? And I think, why is the suicide rate coming down? I think because people are realizing that they have a larger network. Because I'll tell you what, I was reluctant to come on my first hunt with you in any organization because I always felt like I didn't deserve it. There's always somebody more deserving. But when I came on that hunt with you and I got my first buck, that was amazing. But the trophy was extra. What I realized, like, man, I need this.
Yeah.
I need to hang out with these guys. And I still talk to
Well, you know, you made
guys that I met.
you made the comment about we gave you a resource, and I don't want people to misunderstand that it's any type of professional help or anything like
Right.
that. The resource we're giving you is each other.
Exactly.
And that, to me, that's why our logo says there with those dog tags, says soldiers helping soldiers. That's what it's there for.
Yeah.
You guys are going to take care of each other and get each other through the hard times.
Yes.
As much as kind-hearted, as faithful as I am to God, and as much as I want to do for you, I can't do it. It's going to be you guys taking care of each other. Bottom
Absolutely.
line, that's it.
And I get phone calls in the middle of the night. I get text messages. I give them. I call people, and it is amazing. Where, hey, bro, what's up? Man, I'm feeling like you right now too. I'm glad you reached out. Happens way too often.
Yeah.
And I think that's what helping us is. I think part of us are realizing, look, everyone is busy. Everyone has a family. But at the end of the day, all you have to do is hit send, and someone's going to respond.
Yeah.
And I think a part of us feel like we're a burden on people. People are too busy. Life goes on, and you realize that, hey, you reached out. You know, like on Facebook Messenger, you'll see somebody green. Hey, bro, I see you're up. And I know it's not just, hey, how's it going? It's, he needs to talk.
Yeah.
Hey, bro, what's going on, man? And we just start talking. And I think that is, you're right. You know, from a resources perspective, it's a network. It's me realizing that there's a lot more guys around me, right? Because we're all busy. We all have things going on. But if one person can't answer, somebody else will.
Mm-hmm.
And that is what I think is helping us. And I think it's also, we're now opening up. You know, hey, bro, I feel like this, man. And, you know, it was always shunned on. It was always like, oh, no. But it really isn't. I think that's just in our heads.
Yeah.
That no one wants to, you know, I think one of the things that I hear nowadays is guys tell other guys, bro, I love you. And it's not like a, hey, bro, I love you. It's a legitimate, bro, I love you, man. Let me know if you need something.
Yeah.
And I think that is what I love seeing in the veteran community, is we're being a lot more true. We're being a lot more genuine. Bro, I'm struggling, bro. I'm struggling right now. What's going on?
Yeah.
And I think that is what Headwaters for Heroes, that's what you've done, you continue to do, is I've got lifelong friends that I've met, and the hunt is fun, the trophy is great, right? But it's not about that. It's about the camaraderie. It's about the guys. It's about the smiles, you know. And, you know, you got a bunch of veterans, and I've been with some guys who have done some way, way, way awesome stuff that I never did. And they're the nicest guys that you'll ever see. Smiling, laughing, having a good time.
Yeah.
But because they're amongst people that they really want to be around and they love and we're like-minded.
Yeah.
And that's the network that I think is, we have to continue to do that. We have to continue to reach out. We have to be honest with ourselves, right? Alcohol is not always the answer. Don't get me wrong. I still like my beer. I still like my drinks. Hey, nothing wrong with that. But that's not going to solve what's going on.
Right.
So let's go back. So what else did Ray do? Well, 2011, I had mentioned my gait had shifted. I'm in Afghanistan, in Kandahar. I can't really run long distances because of the injuries that I had that I didn't realize I had. And they would do 5Ks in Kandahar airfield because there's nothing else to do in Kandahar when you're bored. So they would have 5Ks. And some of my buddies, hey, man, let's go do a 5K. No, I can't run, dude. I can't. My back. Oh, you'll be all right. No. So they finally get me out to a 5K. They say, look, if you have to jog, we'll jog with you. If you have to walk, we'll walk with you. But let's cross the finish line together.
That's cool.
Okay. So we do it. Super slow, and man, like I just ran a 5K. Wow. Okay. Hey, there's another one next weekend. Okay. And I'm saying next weekend. It's Afghanistan. What the hell are you gonna do? Right? Nothing else to do. Well, then they have a 10K, and I'm like, man, if I can do a 5K, maybe now I have the confidence.
Mm-hmm.
Why? Because my brothers and sisters to the left and right of me are helping me.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, I can actually run. Actually doing more damage at the time that I didn't know. But anyways, so I'm running. Come home. And I miss my team. I miss the guys that I was with. And now I'm in the reserve, so I'm back at home in my civilian job, and like, it sucks. And I was like, you know what? Running was cool with those guys. Let me just pretend I'm running with them. So I would start running. Then I started increasing my mileage. And I was like, man, if I can run a 10K, maybe I can do a half marathon, right? Maybe I can. And I started to continue to push myself. And I was at an event, And a doctor from a Rossi sees me and says, "Hey, can I ask you a question?" "Yeah." "Why do you walk like that?" I said, "What do you mean?" He's like, "Your gait is way off. You're not even running. You're waddling." I said, "What?" He's like, "I can help you." He's like, "You in pain?" I said, "I'm in pain all the time in my back. I take Motrin all the time." He's like, "It's because you're walking incorrectly. I need to show you how to walk again." I'm thinking, what are you talking about? My hips and my gait were not working the way they were supposed to. So he takes me for 6-7 months through rehabilitation. This is not through the VA. This is just a doctor, a chiropractor giving me his time. Right? You know why? He was a veteran.
Oh, wow.
He was a Navy veteran, and he's like, "Hey, man, I want to get you back out there. I see you like to run. I'm going to help you run faster and longer distances." I'm thinking, yeah, right. Because at this time, I had gone to the VA. The doctor in the VA said I needed back surgery for my L5 and my S1. And everyone told me, don't go to the military doctor for surgery. So I wasn't going to do it. I said I would just take Motrin like candy. Crazy, probably killing my kidneys. And he taught me how to walk again the correct way. My muscles, my gait, my joint. He spent 6-7 months with me showing me what I needed to do for my muscle, all the scar tissue, taking the scar tissue out. And it worked. And it got me running. So I'm thinking, okay, to thank him and show other veterans that you can overcome and not get surgery, I'm going to do a marathon. 26.2 miles. I don't know if I can do it. But now I'm committed.
Right.
And I was like, well, I got to do it, right? My son at the time is, 8, 9 years old now, and I'm thinking he saw me with my cane for a while. He would see me get drunk. He'd see me angry. I was always angry. To brush my teeth hurt because I had sciatica shooting down my leg every day. But I had to numb the pain, so I would take Motrin with beer, right? I would just continue to drink just to numb the pain. And I never forget when I thought about, like, man, what if I can do a marathon? Maybe I can, because now I can't be drinking as much if I'm training for a marathon, right? So it helped me not drink as much.
Yeah.
And when I crossed that finish line in my first marathon, I was like, wow, I want to do some more. I'm going to show people that, hey, you can do it. So I come back, so I continue to run, and I've done 26 marathons now.
Wow. And how many years?
I started distance running in 2013.
Wow.
So in just over 11 years, I've done 6 ultra marathons, which is more than a 50K, right? 50K is, and I've got a 55K scheduled for March of this year, right?
Wow.
From being told by a VA doctor that, yeah, you may not be able to run again, to doing this.
No surgery.
No surgery.
Wow.
No surgery.
Well, yeah, I've heard the horror stories of the VA, and
yeah,
which is tough when you know how good BAMC is and
Yep.
Walter Reed and and the stuff that they teach the rest of the world. That's military.
Yeah.
Why the hell does our VA suck?
Yeah. So, and I think, but it makes you stronger, right? You can accept it.
So
Right.
what are you doing with your marathons now? Are you encouraging other veterans to join you?
Oh,
I've seen you run with the Spartan hat and the flag. I haven't seen you run.
Yeah.
I've seen the photos of it.
So, I'm glad you brought that up. I actually, a buddy of mine ran he's 44, 45, and I helped him cross the finish line of his first 10K ever a couple weeks ago.
Wow.
Right? So I work with local veterans here in San Antonio. I had a coach who taught me how to run with form, and so I just try to inspire people to say, get out there and do it, right? The physical health is tied to your mental health. It really, really is.
Yeah.
I don't want to accept, much like I didn't accept what that teacher told me in high school. I didn't accept that I was told that I couldn't, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I wasn't told. I just don't want to accept that I'm done. I don't want to accept that I can't push my body to do more. I can, and that's what I want veterans to take away is, you can do it, right? You just, the same way you did what you did in Afghanistan and Iraq or wherever you did, you can have great mental health, great physical health. You just got to do the work. Yeah. And I want to, when I run with my Spartan outfit, I want people to say, it's tough to run, but that guy's running in a costume and he's running with the flag sometimes. That's really tough.
Yeah.
But if he can do it,
yeah,
then I should be able to run a 1 mile, 2 mile, 3 mile, because we got to start somewhere.
Right.
And I think, do I do it for attention? No, I want it to be fun. I want to have fun with what I'm doing. So wearing a costume is fun, but more so, I want people to see, hey, I can do it. he can run with the flag off balance,
Well, you know,
I can do it.
we're called by God to serve in different ways. And if you can be an inspiration and change somebody's life,
Yeah.
you may never know it.
Correct.
In most cases, you don't know it. And I like what you said about people seeing you. You're not doing it for the notoriety. It's okay. That takes a lot to wear a costume and carry a flag. You know, that is an incredible feat in my mind. And if you can inspire somebody, and that's the great thing about you know, when you're called to do something, you never know when you've made that difference.
Yeah.
You never know it. And I know has it inspired me enough to run? No. but I really enjoy seeing you on Facebook and seeing where you go and what you do. And it was one of the reasons why I wanted to have this time with you was you've been an inspiration. And I don't think you know how much you've been an inspiration, and you may never know it, but you can rest easy that you have inspired a lot of people. And it's such a cool thing to watch that.
You know, one of the things that I think about also on every run, Steve, every run, and I've never had the opportunity to share it, so I think it's important for people to hear it, is the IED that I ran over was a cell phone detonated IED. We found where the guy was hiding. What I mean is somebody pushed a button when I was driving over where he marked it. Another human being was flat out looking at me and pushed a button hoping to kill me. That is what I think about when I'm running. I'm not going to let you win. I'm not going to let you make me go back into depression. I'm not going to let you make me be the angry person I used to be. I'm going to run. I'm going to run this 55K. I'm going to do it to stop and show you think you got me, you didn't.
That is awesome.
That's part of why I continue to push myself also. I want to inspire other veterans, but if I could look at that person in the eye and say, you didn't win. You tried and you didn't. I'm channeling that anger in a different way. I want to just get out there and show that you didn't stop me. All you did was fuel me and make me stronger than what I was back then.
Now, how does our younger generation, I mean, we know enlistment numbers are down. How do they get that passion?
I think it comes down to us sharing our stories. It comes down to us. You know, I mentioned earlier my son, you know, sharing hunts with them, sharing stories, introducing them to other veterans so they can see. I think that's what it's going to take, is just really us talking and sharing it, the power of social media. And I think at the end of the day, you know, like I said, I wore that hoodie at the gym today. It said, America, worth fighting for. Maybe it inspired somebody to look at it and say, I never thought of it that way. And I think it's really us being real and being genuine and hopefully being an inspiration, not just from a running perspective, but as a veteran. I think that's the best thing we can do, is just talk to people, which most people don't do today.
No.
Right? I think that's what I think is key, is just talking, sharing what we can. And if people dismiss you and write you off, it's going to happen. But I think you mentioned earlier, right, you have no idea who you inspire, and I think we're all called for a reason, and we don't know what that reason is, but let's try to figure it out together.
Yeah. That's all we can do, you know. And I know you took off today, and today's your wife's birthday.
It is. It is.
And I know you got to get back home and be with her and celebrate her birthday. Is there any last words that you want to impart on the public? Any inspirational words?
You know, I think I would just ask the public to continue to support organizations like Headwaters for Heroes, right? That is what is helping the numbers come down, building the network, right? Just the camaraderie that we miss. Every veteran will tell you, we miss the camaraderie every day.
Yeah.
Every day we go to work, every day we're with our families. We love our families, but we miss it. We miss the guys. We miss the teams. We miss just the BS scene, the hanging around, and that's what the hunts do. When you bring people together, it's not so much, hey, let's go, you know, hunt some animal. It's let's get together for fellowship.
Yes.
That's what it is. It's fellowship. It's spending time together. So for the donors and the sponsors, I just really want to say thank you. You're helping people. You're changing people's lives without even knowing it, right? It's not just, hey, here's a free hunt. Hey, here's a free animal. It's not that. It's the camaraderie, the fellowship. It's so much more, the lifelong relationships that we're building. So, I would just say to the patriots out there, thank you. Thank you for still believing in America, supporting your veterans. Be kind to one another, help one another, right? And just try to be an inspiration, right? Steve, thanks for bringing me on here. I've never shared a lot of my story, and I think we really believe that we're really not that important. What does it really matter? And maybe it does, and maybe that's just part of the veteran mindset that we have to get out of.
This show's about recognizing the heroes, and Ray, you are truly one of the heroes in my mind. And more so after this conversation. I learned a tremendous amount. But you're right. People, if you're listening, it takes people like you to make this happen. We really work hard to get everything donated from, like Ray said, other patriots, different ranches. But we do have fundraisers, and you can reach out to us on our website, headwatersforheroes.com, or our Facebook page, Headwaters for Heroes, or give our office a call and talk to Lynn Withers, our manager here in the office. Her number is 830-864-4096. Remember that all of our staff is volunteer, and I want to tell you, they've been with us for years working because they all have the spiritual heart that guides them to do the mission. Our next upcoming fundraisers, we have our car show. May 11th, in conjunction, we have Zion Lutheran Church out of Kerrville's hosting it, and we're looking forward to that. We will be raffling off the Chevrolet truck, the 1978 Chevy Silverado truck with a 454 SS crate motor in it. This truck sounds awesome. Automatic transmission. The headliner, this is really special. The headliner inside of the truck has the signatures of Mo Bandy and Joe Stampley. $20 tickets, you can get them online. May 18th is our sporting clay shoot at Joshua Creek Gun Club, so we're looking forward to that. And then our big auction comes up at the May 24th, which is going to be held here in Harper. So there'll be information coming out about that. The auction is an incredible event. A lot of hunts are in it, a lot of custom guns. It's a lot of fun. So this is where we raise the money to do what we do, people. Please take a look at us so we can better serve our Purple Heart veterans and our Gold Star kids. That's something we haven't even begun to talk about, is our Gold Star kids. And so, once again, Ray, I thank you for being here. My respect for you has grown exponentially. I didn't believe it could, because I've always had a lot of respect for you, and we'll continue to stay in touch, and we'll do more things.
Thank you, everyone. Appreciate you.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's been fun, and we'll see you on the next session.